that will be the news that we'll bring you. And also bringing you news throughout the Metro Detroit area is our good friend and host of The Splash on Civic Center TV, but also the midday news anchor on WWJ Radio AM in Detroit is Brooke Allen. Brooke, welcome to the program.
Hey, Tyler. Thank you so much. How are you? It's been forever.
It has. It's been a really long time. I'm doing all right. How are you? How's Greg? How are the kids?
Oh, you know what? We're good. In fact, it's starting to thunderstorm, so you may hear screaming children, dogs barking, the dog hiding right here. So just be forewarned of that. But no, everyone is good. Everyone is healthy. I'm so grateful for that. So that's great. In fact, we've been very lucky. We haven't known anyone directly impacted by COVID-19 as far as, family or friends. So that is the great news. Of course, the bad news is that so many people continue to be affected by this, although it seems like it's winding down to some degree with the reopening of things. But still, there's a lot of fear out there.
There absolutely is. And your kids have been at home maybe a little bit more than they normally would during this. You mentioned them earlier on. They may be screaming during a thunderstorm. How has that been for you and Greg? Is it tougher than normal times? Are there different challenges?
You know what?
Maybe?
It has been so interesting because, I actually, of course, I'll always do the interview about, so how should parents handle this and what's going on? And so one woman that I interviewed from Khan Academy had said, you know what, you are not homeschooling because it's not like that. This is like an emergency situation. So once you kind of get that through your head, it makes it a little bit better because you have to cut them slack. They're 8 years old. You cut them slack and then you have to cut yourself slack. Every day I'm organizing, leaving notes, leaving almost lesson plans for them, what their teachers have sent. And it's overwhelming sometimes. So, I think if nothing else comes out of this time, it will be the appreciation for teachers, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely the appreciation for teachers. We've heard that from teachers and from tutors. We had a tutor on a couple days ago that even said that they're getting a lot of appreciation from families of their kids as they help these families teach them and as they take over the teaching duties as well as would normally be going on. Any advice that you have that maybe you've learned throughout this process from a parent's perspective for other parents?
Well, so it's different for me because obviously Greg is home with them, right? So I just happen to be off today. So it's a little bit different because he's home with them all day and having to navigate the whole thing. And then I come in, by the time I get home, it's, late afternoon. So they're tired. They don't want to do anything else. So I think the biggest thing that we've learned is to be able to incorporate breaks. How many recesses do they have during a day, right? But of course, the weather has been a little bit uncooperative like it is today. So it's just kind of trying to do those virtual tours of museums that are open that maybe you wouldn't do on a normal basis. Tyler, I have never done so many crafts in my life. It has been amazing. It's like, okay, well now let's make slime, let's paint vases. So that's been kind of an interesting time, but really it's been so fun to be with them more than we normally would. Although it does get a little much sometimes, right? And frustrating when the lessons are not, when maybe we don't get the lessons, they don't get the lessons, so the learning aspect of it, of course, is the worst part for us just because you want them to be okay next year when school starts.
So we're both broadcasters. We both are, at least lately on our end, we've been focusing more on news. You, of course, work primarily at a news station at WWJ. We have our own complicated broadcast operation here covering just Oakland County. You have, of course, are working at a major market news operation. How you've seen our operation here and how how we're changing our operations. How have things changed in that big of a newsroom? Has it changed the dynamic there as well?
Oh, so yes. So we are actually on a skeleton crew. We have been since I believe March 13th was it? So the morning anchors, Tom and Roberta. Roberta is reporting from home now. She's anchoring from home. I'm midday. I'm solo. So I am in the studio, but one of very few. So, a newsroom that usually has up to 20 people at a time, maybe coming in and out, rotating. It's down to probably 5. Wow. So the midday anchor obviously is there because they're running the board, but in the afternoon and morning, since they have 2 anchors, it's much easier for one of them to be out. So we have gone down to a skeleton crew, producers working from home. It's been pretty interesting because there's so much news But I'm really proud because there's so much news, and like you guys, we're able, you adapt, right? So you get it done and you just keep going. But it's amazing to know, wow, you never thought you could do your job from home, and now you can, right?
Yeah, it is interesting, and we've had a lot of people on our team also that have been transitioned to home, and we have our own version of a skeleton crew here, just a few people. It's myself, it's Erica with us in the studio, and then it's Ryan out in our main area running the broadcast. And the most people we have in a building at a time has been 4, and that's if we have
Okay.
Dave Scott in with us doing the show on normal days. So for you, being in the WWJ newsroom, and you said it's upwards of 20 people at a time in a normal situation, maybe even more, and at this time it's around a handful of
5.
people. Has it been weird
Exactly.
to be in there? Has it been odd?
It has,
quiet?
it has. So it's, usually I can tell you, to where it's been quiet, what's so interesting is that the phone's ringing off the hook, right? I don't know that we've ever gotten so many phone calls, people asking, of course they want to know the new COVID numbers, the diagnosis, the deaths from the day before, because those are released in the afternoon. So we get those phone calls. We get, during the unemployment, our phone was ringing off the hook when the system wasn't quite working and crashing all the time. So we were really trying to connect and navigate and help people, right? I mean, it's our job to kind of get the information out there and to help people and let them know what's going on and the latest information and stuff. But it has been, so we're down to a skeleton crew, but so interesting because the phones have never rung so much with people needing and wanting to know information.
And so you're keeping that up with a skeleton crew. Is it still similar operation, or is it just 5 people working on this at a given time and everyone else is...
You know what? I mean, nothing has really changed. We still have our crystal ball every day. We still know what we're doing. I have to say that most stories are COVID related, obviously. But, I do the feature, The Difference Maker. So what's been interesting for my end is that I'm able to actually find the people who maybe wouldn't be highlighted during this crisis. Of course, we're so grateful to the healthcare workers, the grocery store workers, but there are a lot of people out there starting new, new organizations, new nonprofits, just to try to help whoever they can, and that has been really amazing to see.
It has been amazing. We've heard a lot of those stories too, and we've talked to a lot of people who are doing similar things here. And we do that in normal times. You host the Splash on Civic Center TV. We almost solely on that show focus on people in the community doing things to help others and to bring people together. And a lot of those have popped up during these times. For a news reporter that has reported on other tragic events like you've done and other more gloomy stories, what lessons have you maybe taken from your experience hosting a show like The Splash and learning about these people in the deeper parts of the community that isn't typically looked at by a major market news station? And how has that helped your team, you and other people on your team, better report the good stories that are going on still during this tough time?
Well, Tyler, from a personal point of view, I can tell you that some days, when I get off the air, it's just exhausting because there's so much bad, right? I mean, there's just so much. It's like, how are we ever going to get through this? But then you do find those good stories and you talk to the people. And, this is kind of funny. A couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago, I did a story on pandemic hair, right? Because obviously nobody can get haircuts. You can't color your hair. It's a crisis to some people, but the lighthearted stories, right? So things that you wouldn't even think about that you all of a sudden are like, oh, well, you know what? I never thought about that. Or the 16-year-old who couldn't wait to get his license and of course couldn't do it, right? Because the Secretary of State is closed. So, and graduations and baby showers, so stuff like that, the human interest stories are really, I think they mean more now than they ever did before. It's always nice to hear, especially in a major market, oh, some good, with the bad. But I think this time more than ever, people really want to hear the good and the interesting and obviously even the funny.
And do you think that, with that being said, do you think that the way that we've been reporting news during this crisis, do you think, virtually, and incorporating Zoom and incorporating people out at home that are reporting on the radio and even on TV, but even beyond that, just these good stories like you just spoke about, do you see the news as we report it on a local level, on a metropolitan level in major markets. Do you see that changing going forward as a result of the lessons learned during this crisis?
You know what? I kind of hope so. I'm not sure that it will. I mean, when this is all said and done, but when is this honestly going to be said and done, right? I don't think we have a timetable for that, really. So I think that people are going to appreciate it more than they did. And I think that it's going to add a little bit more depth to, I mean, I can't speak for everyone else, but definitely for me, right? I mean, to reach out to people and to appreciate, not just to get the good soundbite, but to also just appreciate what they've done and thank them and let people know that, there is, number one, help available, and we are in the media and we're here for you to get the information out.
Brooke Allen, midday news anchor at WWJ Newsradio 950 and the host of The Splash on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. Anything else you'd like to say to our audience, or anything else we haven't touched on during today's interview that you'd like to speak about?
You know what? I just am so grateful, like I said, for people to be safe. And thank you, Tyler. I miss you guys, so I hope I'm able to see you soon. It's always so much fun being in the studio with you. But the precautions that everyone is taking, and, those designer face masks and stuff, I mean, all of it, it will eventually evolve and change. And I guess the bottom line is that, we'll be here for you no matter where we are, reporting for The Splash or at WWJ, wherever, I mean, it's our job and we love it. And I think you love it too, Ty. So it's just a time where we need to be out there. And I think that we are.
I agree 100%. It's more important now than ever before that we get out there and we tell the stories of the people of our communities all throughout the area in Oakland County, in Metro Detroit, in the state of Michigan, and all throughout the world, because we all need something to look forward to. We need something good to look at, and we all have a lot more lessons to learn that we can learn even under the pressure of a crisis like this.
We can learn it even 6 feet away, right?
Absolutely. Brooke Allen, midday anchor for WWJ and the host of The Splash. We hope to have you back in our studios here very soon, hopefully sooner than later.
Buddy.
Oh, so am I.
Right.
We'll talk to you soon. Brooke Allen.